Folks, welcome back to the Crossing Swords podcast presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. I am Gatesy, joined today by the Mike Bundt, by the intern Carson. Gentlemen, we are 50 days away from the start of the Sabres season. Bunty, I'll kick it off with you first. How are you feeling? The end of the off season is almost in sight.
I was trying to think of something like clever or like cool to say about like the leaks yesterday at KeyBank Center, but nothing came to my head. So I'll let you two fine gentlemen come up with something more creative. But I'm feeling good. 50 days away. I know both of you guys are excited for hockey to get here in a little bit, and I know a lot of people are pretty focused, prioritizing the Bills right now. But hockey's right around the corner. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you got to be excited, right? The countdown's closing down here to preseason. Then you got regular season. So this is a great time. I know for me, when I go back to college, it kind of stinks, right? Like I love college, don't get me wrong, but I wait for the Bills season. And then once Sabres season kicks in, the college year flies by just like that. So like for me, once the Sabres season starts, that's when I know we're really in the swing of things. I love the emotional roller coaster of it. And I'm fired up for the season because there's so many question marks. So it's always fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait.
And even though we're 50 days away from opening night, fellas, it feels like the season's already began. We had a couple weeks ago the KeyBank renewal presser with the doors opening. And then yesterday, I think we're all just enjoying our night, our Tuesday night, hanging out. And we see water leaking from the roof or from the ceiling in the concourse area at the KeyBank Center. When you saw this, guys, what were your thoughts in your head? This video is from our good friend AJ. Because I remember I saw it, it's like this can't be real, this can't be happening. I'm, trying not to be a big believer of omens, but is there a worse way to get into the start of the season, into the offseason, than seeing just water gushing out of the ceiling? Bunty, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's pretty embarrassing, especially when like the whole fan base knows the arena needs renovations. Now, if this truly was a sprinkler, it's kind of a weird situation, and I could understand some of it. But when you have all those fans there for whatever they were there for, and there's already this knowledge that they need to upgrade the arena, it's just a really bad look. And then you have the team being like horrible on top of it. It's just a lot of stuff at once to kind of like ignore. Like if the team was making the playoffs every year and this happened, you'd be like, oh, that's just kind of a weird thing at the arena. Like, or if the arena was like brand new and something like this happened, you'd be like, that's weird. They messed up a part of construction.
New construction.
When you have an old arena and you haven't upgraded, the team stinks. It's just like, yep, this is just life as like the Buffalo Sabres right now. This is just how it is. Like, not even surprising. Like, this is the same building that had a Jumbotron like fall to the ice like the first year they had the arena. So like that's just Buffalo. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's not like it's kind of laughable. Like, let's be honest. Like, wow, just another thing that happens with the arena and everything that's going on. Like, right? It's Bundt, you touched on it. Like, it's just the state of the franchise. It sums it up in one video. They've missed the playoffs last 14th season. So just to add that on top of it, let alone with the deal that happened with KeyBank a few months back, and then the new roof on top of it that people are just ripping them apart. Like there was some tweet that I saw that some person said that this was Sabres fans' game 7 of like a playoffs because nothing else is happening, and that just adds to kind of what's going on. So I mean, hey, like it happens, stuff happens. If we were, producing more on the ice, I don't think it'd be glamored about as much. But until that point happens, things like this are going to blow up in Saberhood, and it did just that. So it's sad, especially when people are in the arena at the time too that can record this. Like this didn't just happen on a Tuesday afternoon when nobody was there. Like, of course, people were there. So I don't know. It's curious. Hopefully they get that fixed and take it from there. But, until this team gets better, things like this are going to blow up.
Yeah, it was scary seeing tiles from the ceiling falling down. So shout out to the KeyBank Center staff for having to deal with that last night. And gentlemen, I don't know if you saw anything else from I saw obviously all the Sabres people talking about it online, but I didn't see bigger national talking points just making fun of the Sabres organization, because that just seemed like an easy dunk on yet another opportunity for this team. But yeah, just kind of, I think, I don't know. It's just the image of it is just something I can't get out of my head of. This just seems to tie things up on kind of a lot of perspective on this organization. But I mean, next point I want to talk about, because the ceiling is what it is. There's nothing really too important about that. But the big talk, the title of the episode, playing words on the pipe bursting. We all know there's a 14-year playoff drought in the works going to next season. Some people have hope that, this team's going to get better. We've talked about it on end this offseason. We're almost to the end of the offseason, Bunty, which feels great. We can have some bigger talking points to talk about of things that are actually happening on the ice. But as we get closer to opening night, 50 days away, is there something kind of lingering in the back of your head for a concern that didn't get addressed this offseason that might get exposed either early in the year or towards the end?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of concerns. Mostly at the top of the lineup, and the possibility of playing like two kids that are around 20 and 21 years old. It's a really big concern. It's tough because I actually like the bottom of the forward lines right now. I think the third line is good. I think the fourth line has a chance to be decent. The defense groupings, pairings look solid to me. Goaltending, you know how I am, Gatesy. No disrespect to like your former position, but you're more a product of like your environment around you. If you have horrible people in front of you, you're going to look bad. If you have good people in front of you, you're going to look good. And then like most people in the middle aren't going to be that impacted. People at the top are going to find a way to perform well regardless. People at the bottom, they're going to stink regardless. So
yep.
I don't really worry too much about goalie, and I think Alex Lyon is a good backup and a good alternative. I just wish they had a little bit better, more experience at the top of the lineup. Now I know that's not easy to get, but you gave up Peterka and you essentially said we're going to replace him with what we already have in the lineup. And I don't know if I love that, especially when they still have some cap room on the table. But to be fair to them, they have spent more than what they have in the past. And compared to other teams, they're really not at the bottom of the league in spending right now, which is all we kind of asked for them to not be in all these recent years. So I wish they had a little bit more scoring, but when you really put it all together, Josh Norris is probably the guy they're counting on to fill that role. And until we see him on the ice and produce, fans can discount it, but I can understand why they have some hopes and expectations for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think my number one concern at the moment is how they're going to replace JJ Peterka's production. And I do realize that, hey, like they've led the NHL in 5-on-5 scoring in the last since 2022 or 2023 season. So like they have the skill to do it. They've shown that time and time again. It's just, when you lose one of your top scorers from last year, and you kind of replace with a maybe, it just adds to the 13-leg parlay that management and company has going on right now. So that's my major concern. I mean, I think Jack Quinn can still get back to what we've seen before. He's been battling injuries left and right. Last year was a little bit of a down year, but hey, we saw him at the end of the year. He was able to stable the ship a little bit better. So we'll have to see if he can take that next step. Hopefully this has been a really good offseason for him because the team's going to need him to take that next step. And as far as the concern that follows my number one concern there with who's going to step up, I'd say definitely health. This team has got to stay healthy. They bring in a new training staff, which is nice to see. But really, when that's your only change and the assistant coaching staff is all of the same and Lindy's still your guy, it kind of is like what gives. So if Norris can stay healthy, which is a big question mark, along with Greenway to pair with Samuelson, then you have Luukkonen. So it's just a thing after the next, right? So if these guys can stay healthy, I think this is a lineup that can definitely make a push for a playoff run, maybe even sneak in. But the probability of that happening is so slim. Like if you lose a guy like Tage, obviously nobody's going to pick his production up just like how Tage is. He's one of one. But they just don't really have anybody after that can produce. Like look what happened last year when Zucker went down. They really struggled to generate offense. So the depth I like as far as bottom six, but I don't see anybody who can come up and replace the scoring depth as it is, especially if an injury goes down. So this team has got to stay healthy. That's definitely hand in hand 1A, 1B concerns from me.
And that's a good point. Like you think about it, the Sabres have had injury concerns in recent years. Last year, Dahlin missed a stretch of games, and that's when it coincided with their 13-game losing streak. The year before, Tage Thompson missed some time, and he wasn't 100%, and it was clear because you weren't seeing the results on the ice. Like, I'll put it like this. This is probably like the most unlikely of like anything happening, like if you're doing your Sabres parlay. But if you had a season in which Dahlin, Tage Thompson, and Josh Norris all play 78-plus games, you're probably right in it until like the end of the season. Like if you told me Tage, Dahlin, and Norris all 78-plus games, like I'm telling you, the Sabres are a 90-point team. The issue is like, what are the odds of that happening? Even if Dahlin last year played 80 games, they probably finished in the mid-80s in points, maybe a little bit more. So it's one of those things where you're going to have injuries in sports, but the Sabres have had a little bit of unfortunate breaks in the last 2 seasons with their injuries, and a little bit their own fault. You got to get depth, and you have to make up for it when you miss guys. Sure. They don't do that enough. But if they can stay healthy, this team does have enough top-end guys to at least be in the race.
Yeah, Nick, I'm on the same page as you both with the injuries, especially what Carson was saying of just that top-end production. Bundt brought up Dahlin last year and that losing streak. You look at the Sabres' top 6 now, and it feels very, very thin as is. There's going to be points in the season, guys are going to get hurt on that top 6. What's going to happen? It feels like Kevin Adams is kind of just banking on those young guys in Rochester, hopefully fill that void. We saw it work last year with Yuri Kulik, who's now, it feels just like a set in stone first-line center for the Sabres, which feels very out of place to say. You say that last year, it'd feel very weird. And I just think that adds to the whole gamble of the season of a lot of things have to go right for the Sabres to get that next level. These guys making that jump included. I like what Steve said about special teams. I don't know if you guys remember the exact numbers, but last year when their power play was like 0 for 7,000, it felt like over that losing streak as well. Their PK had their run-ins of just being really bad. So, instead of losing games by 1 goal, special team gets to get better. They get to the overtime, get an extra point. A lot of things are going to add up to making the Sabres a little bit better this year. But is there something, gentlemen, while I find this, that is your number one priority for the Sabres next year? Whether that be something that you think is going to do really, really well, or just one aspect of their game that you think is going to be, the backbone of this team for getting over the hump. And yes, Sabres fun stat, pun intended on the pipe dream.
I don't know if this is like an aspect, but I need to see like mental growth and maturity. I think this team has been so immature and stupid for such a long time, and it's something that bothers me watching them. Mentally weak. Like you
100%, Steve.
You see how they respond to adversity. You see how you get a little bit of like tough times, and they just fall apart. And I think Cousins is one of those guys. Peterka is one of those guys. Was one of those guys. I mean, Samuelson, like a lot of several different players on the team. And that's why I didn't just dust aside the end of the season, because I did see a change in how they were carrying themselves once a couple things happened. After that Thompson hit against New Jersey, they did seem to support each other better. They did get a little bit better goaltending. Did they deserve to suddenly get hot? They had a little luck involved in that. But let's be real, like their goaltending was so bad that like just getting average goaltending will make a difference for this team if they can get it. But for me, it's maturity, and it's all over the ice. I think UPL could use some maturing. I think yes, I get playing goalie for the Sabres isn't a great situation, but I think he a lot of times gets in his own head and lets stupid mental mistakes impact the entire team. He allows horrible goals and horrible moments, and he's too talented to let those type of goals that go in. Defensively, take appropriate risks, but be in position. Like you need Owen Power to take that next step. He has all the talent. He needs to show up. That's growing up. I think we know that Dahlin has ability. And then offensively, it's always been make the right play at the right time. Don't take a chance up 2 that's not needed, that can lead to a turnover and an odd man rush. Dump it in if you need to dump it in. Play smart hockey. And you really look back at all the decisions the Sabres have made this offseason. It has one real constant to it, and it's they're wanting to play hockey more of the brand that Lindy Ruff wants, and that's play smarter, play more mature, play with a veteran presence. Everything I get back to with the Sabres is they think that their team is full of, I don't want to say this is their thought, but this is how I think. They feel like their team was full of idiots. That's how I feel like the moves this offseason are based off of. Immature, stupid idiots that care more about their individual accomplishment than doing what's right for the team. And you get rid of Cousins, you get rid of Peterka, you're decreasing the talent on your team. But you're probably getting better in other areas. So maturity and mental toughness, those are the two things for me.
But you took a lot of what I was going to say there. I'm not even going to lie. I think maturity, without a doubt, is what has to be the priority for this team this year. How many times last year did we see blown leads? Something goes wrong, it blows up, the other team just pulls away. That cannot happen. You cannot have a 13-game skid that ultimately ends your season in January. That can't happen, right? So
can't have it.
For them to take that next step, I think mental strength is huge. Obviously, they feel the internal pressure. This year, really, I think there is the most pressure on this group there's ever been, because if it doesn't go right this year, right, Adams' contract's done, Ruff's contract's done, you're probably going to have guys knocking on the door out left and right. So I think this is the year that it has to all click, which is funny to one of your arguments, Bundt, where you talked about how you viewed the team as with their PR answers and everything, with how they're just idiots and it's inexperienced and stuff. It's crazy because last offseason, Adams was using they're young, but they have experience in the games played department for one of his reasons on backing himself up on the moves that he made. So I think it's they need these games played to finally translate to experience, because the games played argument's fine until the same mistakes keep happening over and over again, and the tendencies of blowing leads continue to happen, which keeps teams in games, and you become undisciplined, and it just starts to unravel for you. But as far as an individual aspect of the roster this year, I think goaltending has got to be the area that takes that next step. Luukkonen, he's got to be better. The defensive group is the best it's been on paper. That's going to be the stronghold of this team. So if they play well in front of him, I think there's zero excuse for Luukkonen to put up maybe a .905 save percentage, 280 goals allowed. And then Alex Lyon, I think, is a really good pickup for this team. He single-handedly carried Florida to the playoffs. He had some moments in Detroit. I think if Luukkonen can't show early, hey, I'm the guy, Alex Lyon, I think, is your perfect guy that can keep you in games, maybe steal some for you, and ultimately help take this team to the next level if they're going to make that jump. And I guess lastly, my main priority, and this is to start off the year. Shout out to Brendan Perlini. He used to play with the Blackhawks, everything like that. He's got a YouTube channel. Go check that out. I watched some of his videos. But one of the things that he said that stuck out to me is the first 10 games are the most important 10 games of a season, because teams always look to start hot and continue that momentum. And if you start chasing, that's when things become really dangerous. So this year, 10 of the first 14 games are at home. They finished the year 16-5 after January 1st at home, and they finished the year 23-15-3. Records that you can definitely live with. If they are going to have any success this year, they have to use those first 14 games, the 10 of those at home, to their advantage and be able to get off to a hot start. Because if they're chasing again, it could get really, really ugly, and that's something I don't think any of us want, let alone the guys in that locker room. So they're really going to have to take advantage of that.
Especially, too, because I think a big issue the Sabres have faced in recent years, Bunty, I remember last year we had this talk toward the end of the season of, the Sabres start off strong and then fall apart in the middle, and then people think they go undefeated at the end of the season. I remember you talking specifically, they're a 500 team in the last month or so, but it just feels like they're so good compared to how poorly they played in that middle stretch. So, Carson, I think that's a good point too. If the Sabres need to take advantage of these opportunities there and just be average in that middle stretch to hopefully get over that hump. I do want to talk about a couple comments quick. You guys are more Bills guys than I am. I don't really understand this reference, but good to see Matt in here. Good to see Steve. That Ryan Johnson, Novikov are in that same mindset. Ryan Johnson's 25, I believe. Top of my head, 20. The what?
He's getting up there.
Yeah, it's when's that jump going to happen? Novikov, I think we'll see some games at some point. kind of like similar like a Rosé in years prior, just a couple of games, see how he looks. Yeah, more Bills talk from Steve this time. And gentlemen, the Sabres today, this is a yes or no question. From their last game mid-April to today, are the Buffalo Sabres a better team right now than they were at the end of the 2024-2025 season? Because they've only made 3 moves. They made the Peterka trade, bringing in Kesselring and Josh Doan. They brought in Connor Clifton from Pittsburgh. They got rid of Lafferty. And there really wasn't too much else going on to shake up the lineup. Obviously, Jack Quinn got signed, McLeod, a lot of guys returning. But so are the Sabres better right now than they were last year? Bunty, if you want to get us going here.
Yeah, they're obviously a better team now than they were at the end of last season. They were a 79-point team last year. They stunk.
Good.
they were
not good.
Here's the thing. I'm not one of those people that's like going to be saying like, oh, the Sabres are going to make the playoffs. I did that last year. I've learned from that. I'm smarter now than I was a year ago.
But I have to mute you if you get close to that thought, Bunty.
But like, let's be real. Like, they stunk last year. They had a 13-game losing streak, and they still had 79 points. How are they going to be any worse than that? And they went from 91 to 84 to 79, and they still have Taves. They still have Darlene. They still have Owen Power. Like this team, I feel like is at their floor of what they should be. 79 should be the floor. Now, there's going to be Sabres fans elsewhere that are going to be telling me, Mike, you're crazy. You're a homer. Like, they're definitely could get way worse. And I've learned through this drought, like things can definitely get worse. But I look at it, like, what were the things that really killed this team last year? I think some of it was maturity. Some of it was mental health. A lot of it was not playing within the system, not trusting what they're seeing, special teams being horrible, goaltending being horrible. So, like, what's likely to change this year? Goaltending's probably going to get a little better. Like, it's hard for goaltending to be much worse than it was last year. UPL was horrendous. Reimer was all right in his stretch down the season, but UPL was mostly horrendous. Special teams, your power play can't be any worse than it was like the first 40 games of last year, so that can't be much worse. Penalty kill was okay at times. I guess like theoretically penalty kill could get worse. Scoring wise, you could definitely take a drop scoring wise. They were 10th in the league in goals. Defensively though, they were 29th, I think, in goals allowed. So you're probably not going to get worse defensively.
Yep.
You're probably not going to be worse in net, and you're probably not going to be worse on the power play. Areas where you did get better, you improved your defensive depth, you improved your backup goalie situation. You're going to probably have Kulik full-time on your power play this year, which is going to add another shot opposite of Tage Thompson. So even if they continue to still be stagnant and not moving the puck around, at least you'll be able to counter that and even things out on both sides of the ice. I think it's really hard for them to be worse. I think even if they kept the same exact roster, I'd probably pick like a 6-point improvement just because the 13-game losing streak is probably not something that would happen again. So, no, they're definitely better today than what they were at the end of the season. The question is, are they improved enough to be in a race for something that matters, or is it just like, cool, you went from 79 points and now you're going to get 84 points? Cool. Like, now you're just going to miss the playoffs by like 6 points instead of 10. Like, we'll see. But they're clearly better overall.
Well, yeah, I think I agree with everything you just said. Right now, I have them, I would say, 82 to 86 point team. Like, it just, you missed the playoffs by 12 points last year. Did they get 12 points better? Like, I don't think so. I think they got better in certain aspects. In certain spots, I also think they got worse. Like, the forward group, I think, is less talented. And I think it is worse. Whether or not the stats will actually show that this year, who knows? Like, they have the potential to take over, but it all comes down to development. It's not linear. I do understand that, but you got Zach Benson, who's never put up over a 40-point season as probably your top line left winger. I get points. He's an absolute beast. Great two-way player. Shuts down the defensive side of the ice. I love him. But at the same time, you're going to need that point total to go up to the 50, 60-point range. You need Norris to stay healthy. You need Kulik to take that next step. You're asking a lot for a guy who's, 21, 22 years old to be your top-line center. after like 60 games played of experience. So that's a tough spot to be in. But I think a lot of people are also forgetting, like, if needed, Tage can play that top line center role to relieve some of the pressure. When the lineups have him as the top line center, there's something about it makes the lineup look a lot better than when Yuri Kulik is that top line center. So it all comes down to development. If guys can take that next step, it's all part of the fun and the parlay that management's got going on here. So if they can take that next step, and if special teams cannot be an absolute boat anchor, I think they got a good chance. The power play has got to be better. They have way too much talent to be as bad as they were last year, to be frank. I mean, they were in the bottom 10 for power play, and then penalty kill, like they were just hit and miss. Sometimes, they were hitting 12 for 12, and then there'd be a stretch where they go like 6 for 14. So that can't happen. It's just got to be more consistent this year, I think. So I'd say yes, I think they are slightly better right now, but I don't know about 12 points better. Like that to me, that's a little bit of a reach. Like I think they're better, just not quite there yet.
By the way, I do think Norris is probably going to be the top line center, in my opinion. I know they
talked about last time.
Yeah, I know they had Benson and Kulik with Thompson to end the season. They had success with that. I think that was a lot of it's late in the season. We're not playing for anything. Let's see what the two young kids can do with like some playing with some actual talent and not being stuck lower in the lineup. And the other question too is like, do you keep Benson and Kulik together, or could you separate them? Because if you have Norris on the top with Thompson, maybe you want to go Benson, like Norris, Thompson, and then you could have Kulik somewhere. Or you could have Benson on a line with Quinn, and you could mix things up. I just think there's ways they can switch this up, and then that the one thing we did discover late in the year too is that you can separate Tuck and Thompson and still get quality results from the two of them. And that doesn't even factor in now that you have obviously Ryan McLeod and Jason Zucker. You okay over there?
Yeah, just bumping around, laying the hits early in the preseason.
But I think they have more flexibility to like move it around. Like I think there's previous years where like they mixed up the first couple lines. It created ugly combinations. I could even see a situation where Doan is on the third line and maybe he's looking good. Like what?
I think you will be.
See, like that's the thing. Like you don't want to rely on youth, but me and Gatesy have talked about this on previous episodes. The youth of this team is different than youth of past teams because the youth of the past teams were all the same player in many ways, and they had the same deficiencies. Like Cousins, Peterka, Quinn. They all have tremendous offensive skill. They all have the ability to put the puck in the net. They are also some of the worst defensive players I've ever seen in the NHL. So when they're not scoring, they are all liabilities. Benson's not a liability on the ice. He's a positive for you on the ice.
Did you guys see that 15-minute like highlight reel that guy put together for Benson? It's just all like little plays. It was awesome.
And that's the thing. Like Benson makes yourself better. So even when he's not getting a lot of points like the last 2 years, he's still having a positive impact on the ice. So I don't think Benson is like a bad thing. Like if anything, maybe he's not your first line guy, but maybe he's a second or third line contributor wherever you have it. Kulik, I don't know. I don't like him as a first line guy yet, but Kulik is one of those guys where like you get him power play minutes and you get him like second line minutes. Kulik should score 20 plus goals. Like there's no reason Kulik can't do that. Quinn has that ability too. It's actually kind of ironic, like how this is all set up, because I still think the Sabres' best line is probably their third line. Like if you have a line of Zucker, McLeod, and like Doan or Zucker, McLeod,
it's beautiful.
And and you compare it to like third lines across the NHL, like that's a very good depth third line. But this is where like if you can break up Kulik and Benson and have success out of them, this is where I think you really have potential to do something special. Because if you have Norris, Thompson, Benson, that probably is going to be a good top line because you got the finishing ability. The whole issue with Norris is, can he create? Like we know he can finish, but he doesn't really create. But you have Benson to maybe do that, and you have Thompson and Norris to finish. And then the second line, maybe you have Tuck with some of these other skill players. Like Tuck can bring that high level. And are we going to have a Tuck extension soon? That's something to monitor.
Big question.
And then fourth line, like it's kind of crazy to say this, but because he wasn't expected to be this type of player, but Peyton Krebs has kind of turned into like a solid fourth line center. Like he's not the most physical guy in the world, but he has a little bit of grittiness, and his scoring and his point totals are perfectly fine. It'd be disappointing if he was a third or second liner putting up 28, 29 points, but fourth line, you're like, okay, this is okay. So like, I look at it and I say, like, if Benson can do his job, if Kulich can just be somewhat responsible, I just don't look at it as the same as the last 3 years. I think these are guys, and even Doan is known to be a responsible
super
two-way player.
responsible.
So the question I more have for the Sabres youth right now is, can they produce enough offensively? Not will they be a liability defensively. And I think it's almost more of a situation like, if you get opportunities with the top two lines, you're going to eventually put up points. Like, you could be a mid player on a bad team, but if you're on the first or second line, you're going to get points. It's like Elijah Moore on the Cleveland Browns. You play for a horrible team, you get wide receiver 2 opportunities, you're going to put up 61 receptions. You're just not going to put up
more slander continuing. It's crazy.
I had to do it, Carson. I had to do it. As soon as I was thinking these examples, I'm like, this is an opportunity. But I think there's things I like. There's things I like, and I haven't even talked about the defense. Kesselring, power, I love that. Byram, Dahlin, that's gonna be fine. And then even the third line, if it's Connor Timmins,
love Connor Timmins.
That's a good pickup. And I know people hate Samuelson, but if he's your third line D, like, is that really an issue? I don't think that's really that much of an issue. I think he can be fine there. And if he doesn't step up, Zach Jones can come in. I think Zach Jones has the ability to fill in. And
if their left D, third pair defenseman is their biggest issue, that is an incredible season for the Sabres. If the biggest issue is Matthias Samuelson being on the ice, that is a massive win for this organization, Bunty.
100%. And so, like, I don't know. It's tough. Like, we say, like, oh, is this the team? The problem with the Sabres is, like, when you're on a 14-year playoff drought, you don't want to be like, this is the year where we're going to take a step forward and just miss the playoffs. It's frustrating, like, saying that's, like, what the outlook is. So I think most fans look at it as, like, this sucks. Like, this is going to be year 15. And it's hard to argue with them because it doesn't look like they have enough on paper. But then if you did a 2-year outlook where you're like, well, what's Benson going to be in 2 years? What's Kulich going to be in 2 years? And then, like, Thompson, and, like, assuming you re-sign Tuck, then you're kind of like saying, well, 2 years from now, like, they could be pretty good. But we've been saying that for a long time now. So it kind of goes on deaf ears. But there's a little part of me that feels like year 2 of Lindy Ruff, what they're doing defensively, what they did with getting a backup goalie, hoping Josh Norris takes a step up. Like, if that Josh Norris stays healthy, maybe this team could be like the surprise of the NHL this year. But you're not going to get me to predict it because I've learned my lesson. And I don't want to look like an idiot on a podcast again. So, but I do have that, like, little feeling like it could happen. Like, let's be real. Jay Fresh is predicting it right now.
Yep.
And Jay Fresh knows what he's talking about.
He's the man.
So
yeah, I think I might have drank a little bit of the Kevin Adams Kool-Aid because I see the vision, and it's like, I think just basically this offseason too, there's just been just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I've just thought myself into a circle of the additions that the Sabres have made, how they're going to be a much better team all around, especially defensively. They were 29th in the league last year in goals against. That number is going to go down. You have a much better D-core. You're going to have Byram with Dahlin. Both those will be fine. I hope Kesselring really elevates Owen Power to be that superstar defenseman. If that happens alone, that Peterka trade is going to be a massive win for the Sabres, let alone Josh Stone, who I think is going to be a huge addition, playing both ends of the ice. Very much that Zach Benson role of you notice him if you're really watching the game closely, but if you're only looking at the stat sheet, you're not going to see too much. You're going to look like an average player. But I do want to look at a couple comments real quick, rolling in. Steve, the Sabres betting on their youth was like, how could they not with all the youth they had? Other teams, Vegas, Florida, have done differently, and you've seen what they've done. Tom, just strength conditioning coach, probably won't see too much of a change. Carson, you probably feel the same way most of the time. Strength conditioning, just vibes. You want to build a team up, morale, stuff like that, especially working out in the season. Nothing's going to change too much, especially if you're working in the NHL, you know what you're doing. So we'll see of all these little changes if they're enough to finally make this all come together for Buffalo. yeah, I think just my closing thoughts on just this offseason in general, because I feel like it has been the same talking points that, we've talked about since May now of what that's going to be. I've worked my way into seeing how this works, but so much of it comes down to everyone staying healthy. This big Kevin Adams parlay that we've talked about. Josh Norris is a guy too that I keep forgetting about how good he was in the 3 games he played in Buffalo, especially his past 2 where, he was creating offense. He was using his speed. I think he's going to be great on the PK as well, creating some extra chances there. And I don't know why, but it just seems like it's going to click in some capacity where they are going to be better. Sports books too, they have the Sabres to get 90+ points at plus 160. So a bit of an underdog, but nothing like absurdly out there that it's not feasible. But gentlemen, we kind of talked off-season stuff day one. We are almost 40 minutes into this episode. Thank you to the nearly 1,600 people who stopped by for the Crossing Swords podcast presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. I want to just, ask you guys, the JJ Peterka trade was the big deal of the summer. It's something, at least for me, that I've grown on the more I've thought about it. How does this trade become a win for the Sabres? You have a defenseman in Kesselring, you have Josh Stone, but on the other side of it, you have JJ Peterka, a guy who is going to put up points at the end of the season. How does this trade look good for the Buffalo Sabres when we have, a podcast episode in mid-April of next year?
I'll let you go first, Carson.
I think it's an easy answer. Playoffs. I mean, if this team makes the playoffs, all that's forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Adams looks like an absolute brilliant man. If Owen Power takes that next step with Kesselring, which is what we're expecting, like they literally fit each other perfectly. Like both Kesselring, absolute beast, man. Like he does everything well. Great 2-way guy. Power, if he can just take that next step with a stable top 4 defenseman, which he hasn't really had full time his whole NHL career yet, I think that could do absolute wonders for this team. And then Josh Stone, if he can just be a guy who locks down the defensive end of the ice, puts up a little bit of offensive upside, and he's more of your gritty guy that he showed that he can be in Utah, I think that's phenomenal. I think that's a great return. And then you really can't be focused on whatever JJ Peterka does. Like we've been so caught up in Eichel, Reinhart, O'Reilly. I mean, you name it. Once they leave, like you can only control what you can control, right? Like obviously the environment here probably wasn't the best. Maybe it's still not. But once the player's gone, whatever happens with them is whatever happens. So for me, if we come back in April and look at this trade and we say it's a success, I think there's 2 ways to go about it. Individually, this team probably doesn't make the playoffs, and we say, hey, both of these individuals had great years, and we should be really excited about them and whatever happens next with this team. Or that happens, they have great years, and we're in the playoffs, and we're like, damn, like that's a really, really good year. And the only possibility that I can see if we come back here and be like, that didn't really work out, and we got rid of one of our best guys for nothing really, is Kesselring just kind of stays where he is, doesn't help anybody develop, just kind of your average top 4 defenseman. Maybe he's in your bottom pair. And then Doan is just turns out to kind of be like a Peyton Krebs type of player. Nothing wrong with Krebs. He's a beast. I love him. But we need a little bit more when we're making that trade for a guy like that. So I don't know. I think the easy answer is just playoffs, though. They crack the playoffs, a lot can be forgiven.
Yeah, if they make the playoffs, nobody even cares about the trade.
Who's JJ Peterka again?
Yeah, right. No one will give a crap in that moment. But it'll be interesting. I think most Sabres fans are at the point where they never give the Sabres the benefit of the doubt, even if they do something smart. So it's going to take a lot to win over Sabres fans, which is funny because you really go back and you watch JJ Peterka last year. How many games did he actually make a noticeable impact? I'm not saying he's not a good player. He obviously is. He's one of the
goes for a couple.
But at the same point, Casey Milstead was the Sabres' leading scorer before he got traded, and people wanted to say trading him for Bo Byram was a horrendous move that made no analytic sense or anything like that. And then Casey Milstead goes to Colorado. He signs an extension after a quarter of a season, and then they trade him a year later. Now Boston's reportedly not even that interested in Milstead, and they're willing to get rid of him too. So I guess on that, Sabres fans were wrong about grilling the Sabres for trading Middlestat. Middlestat really isn't that valued across the league. And you have Byram now under a 2-year extension. So regardless of if the Sabres wanted to trade Byram or not, you'd have to say they got the better of it because they got a player that they still value enough to be part of their roster. And even if Byram was to be gone, they might have gotten something back that would have been somewhat decent. As far as the Peterka trade, like Peterka's going to put up points in Utah. He's gonna get goals. They're more of a rush team, which kind of suits his style. So there might be points where Peterka has 25, 35 goals. But there's also a chance Peterka's shooting percentage goes down 5-on-5. He continues to struggle on the power play. And maybe he goes down to 50 points and 25 goals. If Peterka has 25 goals, 50 points, and is a -13 next year, I'm not going to give a shit about his 25 goals. Like, I won't. If he gets 37 goals and puts up 75 points and Utah is making the playoffs and he's scoring important goals for a team like taking the next step, that'll be a little frustrating for Sabres fans. But ultimately, it's about what Kesselring and Doan do in Buffalo. Kesselring has all the makings of at least being a nice middle defense pair guy who can step up with the top pair if needed. He has physicality, and he's going to help out Power. If Kesselring puts up average numbers, but Power becomes the guy that you need him to because he finally has a D partner he has confidence in, you take that trade even with the average production. And then Josh Doan is just kind of a bonus on top. Like, you think about it, when the trade happened, like, I'm not going to act like the Sabres got the better of the deal because Utah got the best player, and that's how most people evaluate deals. But when the deal happened, how many Sabres fans like knew who Josh Doan was? Like, I'm not gonna pretend like I was aware of Josh Doan when that trade happened. Like,
we were live, Bunty. And what changed my thought in it was all the Utah fans saying how great of a player he was and sending all these like clips of him doing all these extra things right. And yeah, it's
that's the thing. Like, where Doan fit in with the Sabres? He's probably a third or fourth liner this year. But if he's a third liner, and that allows you to move Zucker to the second line, so maybe Zucker's playing in the second line with Kulik and Tuck at times. Maybe in the third line, you now have Doan with McLeod, and you have someone else like Quinn there, but you feel better about Quinn because you got McLeod and you have Doan, who you know they're going to be defensively responsible. So Quinn can take more risks, and you can protect him from being a detriment. Like, now you got a little bit of more flexibility. So how does this trade end up working for the Sabres? If they get better defensively because they don't play stupid hockey, and they're able to take that next step. And there's a big part of me that just I've said it nonstop since all these moves have happened. The Sabres are clearly saying to everyone else, we think we already have enough goals in our lineup. We need to play smarter defensively. And you hear, I know the embedded stuff and the beyond the blue and gold is all Sabres PR, but you keep hearing stuff about the culture and the team. And I truly believe Lindy just did not like what he was seeing from Peterka and Cousins. And I believe the Sabres would have kept Peterka if he was willing to, like, stay. But contract talks, like, what held everything back? Was Peterka, did he want out of Buffalo no matter what? Or was it the Sabres weren't willing to pay him what he wanted, and that basically created a standstill? I don't know. We never really got a true answer for why Peterka wanted out of Buffalo. It was a lot of speculation. Nothing really was reported that had any substance behind it. So I don't know. I'm just hoping the Sabres can take a step in the right direction, and hopefully Kesselring and Doan can play a factor. And if Doan scores 15 to 20 goals, like John is saying here, well, then there's no doubt the Sabres will eventually win that trade. If Doan scores 15 to 20 goals a year, while Kesselring is a plus 10 defenseman, the Sabres will have gotten the better side of the value. But this is one of those trades where when you're getting a 25-year-old third pair defenseman who's stepping into a bigger role, and you get like a 24-year-old winger who is stepping into a bigger role, it's about projection. They haven't shown they can do what the Sabres want out of them yet. But if they come in and do what the Sabres want and do it at a high level, the Sabres are winning the deal. It's just that you can't assume that's going to happen.
Yeah, 100% Sabres Classic. Thanks for the repost of the stream. And thank you to the near 2,000 people tuning in on a Wednesday night, 50 days away from the start of the Sabres season, to listen to us talk about the Sabres. And just to put a bow on what you guys were saying with Peterka trade, with Kesselring, with Doan, you're right, Bunty. The thing, or Carson, I think you said it too, the thing I'm thinking about most is if Owen Power can get to that next level and be that superstar defenseman that, we see flashes of, you hear a lot of talking about, but it hasn't fully fleshed out yet on both sides of the ice. That trade is a huge one for the Sabres, because if you have Darling and Byram on your top pair and then follow it up with an elevated Owen Power Kesselring on your second, I don't think there's really any other, D-core in the league that can truly compete with that and the youth of it too. And then Josh Doan is a player that I've just fallen in love with this offseason, just how he plays. I think is going to be a huge impact for the Sabres being better across the ice. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a bunch of rumors on Peterka, Steve. So we'll see. I think a lot of the Sabres stuff too, like we've talked about this whole offseason, is this locker room. What's it going to take for this group to come together, not fall apart when, they take a little step back. So we'll see what it's like bringing Kesselring, bringing in Doan. And we've said all offseason too, there might be a lot of addition via subtraction over the past year as well, moving on from some guys. Now, we're almost an hour in. I got one more couple questions for you guys. Didn't talk about this, in our pre-stream talk, but Jack Quinn is a guy who I don't say forgetting about is the right word, but you think of the top six, whether it's Zucker on that top spot or Quinn, he just kind of feels like the odd man out, whether you put him on the second line or the third line. I guess my question is, what do you see his season looking like? Do you see him, taking that jump, playing next season how he did last year, where he had 13 points in his last 13 games? He had that big stretch. I think he had 9 points in 5 games and then kind of mellowed out from there. But do you guys see Jack Quinn taking that jump with another year of Lindy Ruff under his belt? Or do you kind of see him kind of falling into out of rotation for the Sabres?
I'm going to take the positive answer. I think Quinn is
a
going
positive
to take
podcast. So
positive Sabres podcast. That's our reputation. We got to stick with it. No going away from it. I do think Jack Quinn's going to take a step forward. And the reason being, he's not making that much money, and he has 2 years to prove to the rest of the NHL that he's deserving of really having a top 6 forward opportunity across the league. Because you think about it, if he continues to put 14, 15 goals a year, 37, 38 points, he's going to be making $3.5 to $4 million max the rest of his career. And he might be out of the league by the time he's 29, 30 years old. If he wants to be in this league for the next decade, he needs to start putting some pucks in the net. And I think he knows that. He's already seen Dylan Cousins get the door. Now he's seen KJ Peterka get the door. Now I know Peterka orchestrated it himself, but the Sabres have shown Quinn, like, hey, if you don't get it done, like, we'll let you go. And the difference between like Quinn and like Peterka and Cousins is like Ottawa coveted Cousins and they gave up something good for him. Utah obviously coveted Peterka. They gave up something good for him. Nobody's giving up anything good for Quinn. So when it comes to like where the Sabres would like let go of Quinn, like if it was a trade or if they'd let him walk to free agency, like the Sabres could just be like, whatever, we'll take whatever somebody's willing to give us. Like, we'll put you in whatever crap situation you want. And I think that's what the Sabres now are finally like learning. Like this whole, like, let's give our players to like the best opportunities so they can be the best versions of themselves. That kind of backfired on you. You did it because you thought that was going to get goodwill and that players were going to be more likely to come to your team and that other teams would be willing to work out better deals with you. It doesn't seem like that's worked at all. Nobody wants to come to Buffalo still, and no GMs are trying to deal with Kevin Adams unless they're trying to basically steal stuff off of him. So, yeah, like maybe let's not give Sam Reinhart to Florida and Jack Eichel to Vegas. I'm tired of giving cups to other cities. But, yeah, Jack Quinn, I think he has to step up. He needs to get 20-plus goals this year. Even when you think about it, 15 goals for as bad as he was last year, like if he plays a little bit better and 20 is definitely within reach.
Oh, 100%.
So it's all dependent on where he is in the lineup. Jack Quinn's one of those guys where defensively he doesn't fit what a Lindy Ruff third line would like seem to be. But I also don't want to just give him top 6 minutes. So what I struggle with is like I would probably throw Quinn on like the third line right now because I think he's too much of a liability to get top 6 forward minutes, and he's not deserving of the opportunity really. So is he going to be a little liability defensively in the third line? Probably. But if you pair him with McLeod or somebody else that's
Doan too,
or Doan, I think you can get away with it. And then he adds a little bit of a scoring touch to that third line. And that's something the Sabres kind of need. They need that scoring throughout their lineup, not just thrown in one line or two line. But yeah, if I had to guess Quinn this year, call me crazy. I'll say he's going to score like 22 to like 24 goals.
Ooh.
And maybe be like a 45 to 50 point player. And
I mean, 39 last year for how bad it was.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think 45 to 50 points is that crazy. And if Quinn does have that year where he steps up and he gets 20 to 25 goals and gets 45 to 50 points, then he's already really at your Dylan Cousins projected point total area. And really, let's be honest, like Quinn was always supposed to be the best goal scorer of the three of them anyway.
Yeah.
Like Peterka ending up being the best at this point, that's the surprise. That was the one that came out of nowhere. Cousins was supposed to be the most well-rounded. Quinn was supposed to be the sniper. And Peterka was supposed to be the young second-round pick that tries hard, that could add a little bit more to that kid line. It just hasn't gone the way we've expected. But you think about it, Peterka got opportunities because he showed early on in his career what he was willing to do. If Quinn can show Lindy that he's willing to work hard and willing to do some of the other things that Lindy wants out of him, and maybe being an extra year back from his injuries, maybe health-wise he's going to have that little bit extra burst, I could see him going up. But he needs to show it. If Quinn comes in with the same mentality he had last year, he's going to be off the team next year. So if I'm him, I'm trying to break out this year. I think he has the talent. He just needs to show it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely has the talent. We've seen it before in years past. And I think it's absolutely huge, and it can't be undervalued that he's been dealing with injuries these past few years, and this is the first healthy offseason that he's really had in a minute. So I think those two pairing together with him being healthy and to pair with talent, I think his potential that maybe he was going to ever be a point-per-game player or really like the lamp in the scoring department, I think that's kind of out the window at this stage of the game. I think those injuries have kind of hurt him in that aspect. But I think he could definitely be. I'm predicting him 50 to 60 points this year. I think he's a guy. It depends. I think it depends where he plays in the lineup. I think he depends where he plays in the lineup. I could see him like he was a healthy scratch a few times last year. So there was an all-time low with Jack Quinn. It can't get any worse than that, in my opinion, this year. And to pair with the health, I think he's going to be a guy that's probably on your second line. He's definitely going to be used a ton on the power play. So I think he's a guy that's even with those 50 to 60 points, he's still probably like a -2 to -5 plus minus. And then his expected goals for is probably like below 50. But I could see the production ramping back up, and I could see him carving a nice middle six rollout for himself this year. I just think that's just how it's going to work out. I think his potential now is a middle six, maybe second liner type of player. I've seen it towards the end of the year. Like he finished the year a little bit stronger, 13 points, 13 games too. Like there's been times last year that he was noticeable. It's just the consistency. If he can become more consistent this year, show Lindy he has what it takes to play in the system this year. Why not Jack Quinn 50 to 60 points? Why not? That's my prediction.
Yeah, I like that too, and the improvement I think will be there based on how he finished last year. And I think based on that alone, I think he's going to see that improvement, especially playing with Bundt. I was thinking about it more when you're talking about him on the third line with Josh Doan and Ryan McLeod. I think you have speed there. You have two guys that are going to work in the O zone as well. I saw a lot of clips of Josh Doan just working in the corner, stripping pucks, finding a guy feet in the circle for a quick shot. I think if the Sabres can unlock that out of Jack Quinn, use his shot, have those other two guys just work as hard as they can and get him a puck here and there, that the Sabres are going to have success. McLeod can push the puck on the rush. They want to do that as well. Doan has wheels. So I think that third line with those three has the possibility of working. I think the whole base of the season is the possibility of working. The vision's there.
People just think everybody sees me now.
Yeah,
if that happens, Gatesy's never going to hear the end of it. So
I need to make 17 more of those. I don't know who Mike Bundt is graphics from Ryan Whitney, but I mean, you had your appearances on Chicklets, Pat McAfee, a little bit of everything this year, Bunty. 32 thoughts.
Not Hard Knocks, though. Not Hard Knocks.
You don't need to bring that up. That's sad. Gatesy, the backstory. So before episode 2, I knew they were doing a Joe Andreessen special, and they shot some video of me interviewing Joe Andreessen. They had the boom mic over me, so like I saw it in like my like peripheral, and I told them before like the show, I'm like, I might be on this week. Like I didn't like expect to be on, but
understandable
like,
though.
I thought I might be on. And they start with like Joe Andreessen. Literally, they start the episode
right off the rip
for like 3.5 minutes, and they never aired it. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's what could have been, Bunty. I mean, you're on a run.
If I would have had Hard Knocks on top of Spittin' Chicklets and Pat McAfee show, like, dude, I might have just like gone into the sunset, been like, this is it. Like,
you're peaking. But before we wrap up with final thoughts, I do have the goalies from last year here, Peterka not included. Is there anyone on this list that you think is going to have a big step up or step down just in terms of their goal production? I'm just looking at it quickly. Like, I see Benson at 10. Hopefully that gets a bit of a bump. Quinn at 15 should see there. Norris stays healthy, 30 goal score out of him. But Alex Tuch is a name I keep looking at of 36 goals. It feels like the quietest 36 goals I've ever seen out of someone.
He's done it twice now.
Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's the one that, you know, if you're going to see a step back, it's going to be from him. But he's done it twice in the past 2 years. Like, do you see him being in the Sabres top 2, top 3 goal scorers next year?
I think you have to, based on recent production. You know what's funny about Tuch? If he was part of like a good Sabres team, like a team that is making playoff runs, he would be considered a Sabres icon. Like, everybody talks about Chris Drury this, Chris Drury that. Like, Chris Drury is a good hockey player. His folklore in Buffalo is so much beyond what he actually was, like, as a player. Like, he was a good player. He could score 30 goals. He put up like 30 goals and 65 points. And we talk about him like, oh, he was such a leader. He was the captain material. So much so captain that like his wife hated Buffalo and he like literally left at first opportunity.
Yeah, the Rangers didn't seem to.
But it's like Tuch has like that Buffalo vibe. Like, he wants to be here. He produces. Like, I want this team to be good. And if he does sign a long-term extension, like a 6-year, $54 million type deal, and they get good during that stretch, he's going to be remembered as a guy that came here when things were bad, fought through it, stuck it out, and then was part of the change. Like, Tuch has a chance to still be an iconic Sabre if he can be part of the turnaround here. I'd say this is going to be a surprising one. I think Thompson has another gear in him. I think Thompson
50
goal like potential. I'm not going to predict it, but like one of these years, like he's healthy, he gets the right line mates, things start clicking. Like, I think Thompson could score 50 at some point. I would expect Tuch to probably go down.
We were on 50 watch for a little bit.
What was that?
We were on like Tage 50 goal watch for a little bit towards the end.
He was actually pacing it.
He missed 6 games.
Based on the games he missed, he was actually pacing 50 at one point. I would say Zucker and McLeod are probably going to go down. Norris is probably going to go up if healthy. Quinn will go up. Kulik will go up.
20 goals out of Kulik this year?
See, like, that's the thing about, you talk about the young players. Like, Kulik really should be a 20-goal scorer, given, like, what his role will be. Quinn should probably be a 20-goal scorer, too. So, it's going to be tough. I could see goal scoring going down on this team, but wins going up. But,
100%.
I said it in a tweet earlier this year. If Thompson gets 50, this team is making the playoffs.
Yep.
And people are like, well, they could still suck. I'm like, if Thompson is getting 50 and they're improved defensively, they're going to find a way to like get 90 points.
Yeah, I think the 3 guys that stick out to me, the 2 that go down, I think, is Zucker and McLeod. I think Zucker was playing a lot above expected goals last year for majority of the season. He was your ultimate glue guy Plus, he's a year older now, coming off a contract extension. So we saw him slow up a little bit, that goal scoring rate towards the end of the season. And then McLeod's 20 goals that he scored, I just don't see that happening. I think he's going to be around the 15 to 17 range. He balled out last year. He's your excellent two-way third, second line center. He does a lot of things really, really well. I just think, he got a little bit of puck luck last year. But then Yuri Kulik, he's going to have ample opportunity, it appears, in that top six. So you got to assume that he's going to put up more than 15 goals. He played, 62 games last year. So if he plays 70+, I think that number is going to go through the roof. And let alone he's going to get time probably on that power play too, on the opposite side, maybe power play 2, because I know Norris is probably going to be the opposite side of Thompson. So we'll have to see. But I think those 3 guys are guys to keep an eye on. And then what's to say Zach Benson doesn't score 15 goals maybe this year as well? He definitely has another gear in offensively for him. And he's just still so young. So I think the team's going to slow up a little bit offensively, obviously without Peterka. Nothing drastic, but they're exchanging that for better defensively, and that blue line is absolutely stacked. So hopefully it correlates to goaltending and goals allowed this year.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you guys. I think I really think we'll see a boost in goal scoring from, I guess, 2 guys not on this list. I really think Kessering is going to see a big boost in his goal scoring just playing with Owen Power. I think these 2 are going to work really well. Power moving the puck. Kesselring has the 3rd hardest shot in the league. So the Sabres are just going to shoot pucks through goalies between him and Tage. I think we'll see an improvement there. And one guy that I love, I'll just die on the hill of, I think he should be part of this team all next year, is Tyson Kozak. He had 3 goals in last year. I know it's not much, but I thought he played the game very similarly to Josh Norris. He was there. He worked well defensively, but he always was creating offense as well. I think I've always remember a couple goals called off. So I think we'll see some improvement on that depth side of things. We'll see what that top 6 looks like. But gentlemen, we are over an hour. Do you have any final thoughts, of this offseason going into next year? We have 50 days till opening night for your Buffalo Sabres. Any final thoughts, Bunty?
Just, I hope they get off to a good start. And the way they finished last year at home was impressive. I don't remember what the record was the last 13, but they had something they won 11 out of 13 or something at home.
Well, Jack Quinn was back, so that's why. It
was something wild. And how does the schedule start out this year? They're at home quite a bit, and I still think back to that Europe trip to start the season. They played a tough opponent that they weren't ready for. They get off to an 0-3 start. They didn't look horrible back in the States, but they might have been a little tired. They didn't have their legs underneath them, and then they dig themselves a hole. They finally get back. They're around the playoff spot and heading into Thanksgiving. Then Darlene goes down, and they go from losing a couple 2-3 close games to just completely falling apart. And that's where I go into the playing stupid and the mental toughness and all that stuff. Fans act like that's a guarantee to happen again, and it really isn't. And I just think back, if this team can continue to win at home, which their home record last year was something 23-15, and I think can you look? I think it's
23-15 and 3.
Carson, I'm not even looking at the record right now. That's just
so dialed in, Bunty.
Well,
this is why you're on Chicklets. This is why you're on McAfee, and this is why you will be on 32 Thoughts for that.
But if they're 8 games above 500 or points wise at home, that's not good that's not good when looking at their road record. But so what they have to do, they have to get off to a hot start. They have to take advantage of their schedule early in the year. They have to be a little bit better on the road. You got to start getting that record closer to 500. If you can continue to win at the rate you are at home and you can get closer to 500 on the road, there's no reason you can't be in this picture. I'm sick when I think that Ottawa and Montreal made the playoffs last year. Those shit franchises are not and I hope there's Senator fans and Canadians fans watching here.
We got Montreal is people. Odds are one of them is.
I do think Montreal is moving in the right direction. They've had an impressive offseason. They actually have gotten a few guys I liked for the Sabres. Noah Dobson, that was a nice deal that they were able to pull off. But like Ottawa, I just don't feel it with Ottawa. I think of them the same way I think of Detroit. Like, yeah, they got a couple good guys, but they're really not. I don't get that feeling that Ottawa and Montreal are worlds ahead of Buffalo. Now, I know Montreal seems to beat the Sabres head-to-head, and their fans will probably point that out. But the Sabres fans could do the same thing with Ottawa. The Sabres swept Ottawa last year, I believe. So head-to-head only means so much. I think at the end of the day, it's all about what they do in October, November. Can we get to December and feel like we got a chance going into the new year? Because the year they had 91 points, they had a lot of ups and downs, but they never played themselves out of it. They were in it, and that belief continued. And the guys were young, dumb, and they believed, and they almost pulled off a crazy playoff season. The year after, they came into the year too cocky, and they didn't buy into what Granato was saying, and they had a humbling experience. And then last year, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if it was not buying into Lindy. I don't know if it was being tired from the Europe trip, or if it was young players not doing what they're supposed to. But there was something off again. And I'm hoping by cleansing the locker room of a few people and bringing in new guys from other teams that they get the right habits going early, and that they don't even think about it and they just catch fire and they carry it. Because when the Sabres of the past, some of those teams, 05, 06, the 05, 06 year, that was not a good team. But they just got caught fire at one point, and they just carried it into like a great season. Like, yeah, they know everybody thinks they suck. But if you get off to like a 10-3 start, you give yourself a little bit of leeway to even go on a little bit of a poor patch and still survive it. So that maybe pay off the refs a few games, bribe the league, fix your arena. Tell the league you'll fix your arena if they get you in the playoffs, and like, I don't know, make it work. Tell the storyline, like, I don't know, whatever you got to do. Like,
there's something
the
there.
Pay the people that write the hockey script to give us a break for once and get the Sabres in the playoffs.
Well, hey, you wrapped it up pretty well. I mean, for me, it's they got to stay healthy through training camp. We can't be having any guys miss significant time even before the real thing starts, right? So that they have to take advantage of that. The first 14 games, where 10 of them are at home, and they have to carry over the energy last year when playing at home ice, because years before that, it seemed they couldn't win at home, but they were road warriors. For whatever reason that was, I don't know what it was. Last year, it was literally the opposite. We couldn't win on the road, but we got the job done at home. So I think that's absolutely huge. You got to get off to a fast start. You got to carry momentum, and you have to be in it. And we cannot be relying on these absolute rallies towards the end of the year that seems these Kevin Adams teams have had in years past. AJ, that's a great comment. I will say this, though. I see the Kevin Adams vision. I see the parlay hitting. I could see the world where it does hit. I could see every guy that they need to step up taking that next step. Is it realistic? Does the book say that that's going to happen? No. But at the same time, I just feel that 85-point range is right where they are. And like, when you think about it, 91 points, that's 6 points. That's 3 games. Maybe you get lucky, you go 3-0, and you get those 3 games you're not supposed to win, and boom, all of a sudden you're right there. Or maybe Luukkonen goes off again, keeps you in games, and you get that scoring to go on it. Like, there's so many circumstances that can just play out, and that's the absolute beauty of an 82-game schedule. Moral of the story, I am just absolutely excited to be ready for the emotional roller coaster, listening to the people call in daily on WGR. Like, it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. It's pair that with a hopeful phenomenal build season, and we're going to be absolutely in business. So I'm just excited for the season to start, and hopefully this is the year that they can finally get over that hump.
Yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head.
I hate this guy. He's no longer allowed on the Crossing Swords podcast. He's lucky I even let him on the pay the bills.
We'll get AJ on next week. But yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head of how I feel. Carson, exactly that. I'm so excited. 50 days to opening night. Like, I feel like we've just been doing these shows over the summer, talking about the year, but it's all these hypotheticals on what next year looks like. I feel like, I feel like a philosopher, whether it be Socrates or Galileo, whoever it is. I'm excited to see these thoughts come to fruition, see the actual product on the ice, get to training camp. We can actually talk about things, watch some hockey, see some actual Sabres plays happening. Shout out Sabres plays for all the stuff they do. And just see the Buffalo Sabres again on the ice. I'm super excited about that because offseason has felt like an absolute lifetime. 82 games of the season, 50 days to the start of the year. And yeah, the amount we've talked about, the Peterka trade, what that's going to look like for the Sabres, all the additions, all the subtractions, all the whatever next year looks like. I'm excited for us to get to that point. I'm excited for the over 3,200 people that stopped by on a Wednesday night in the middle of the offseason to listen to us talk about the Buffalo Sabres. And like AJ said, let's shock the hockey world. I've been Gatesy. Bundt has been awesome. Carson, so good to have you here today. And gentlemen, we have 50 more days until we have Sabres hockey.